As the UQ Medical School entered the 60s, the school made the most of newfound prosperity by growing its scope of operations. The 70s brought with it the heaviness of another war and the threat of national service. Medical students set about proving they were more than just med students, showing their strengths as sporting heroes, musical maestros, Aussie larrikins and expert drinkers. Queensland's medical students are high achievers in a variety of fields.
My name's Mary Deidre Marnie and my maiden name was Hirschfeld, and I graduated in 1963. When I joined the medical school in 1958 as a junior first year medical student, we did some of our training down at George Street in the old university. We also did it at Victoria Park. We did anatomy in the old army huts there, and then of course here at the medical school. I graduated in 1963, and when I graduated we had 110 graduates, and 10 of those were women, and things have really changed over the years.
Her family connection to the UQ Medical School spans decades, with Mary's grandfather, Dr. Eugen Hirschfeld, a founding UQ senator in 1911, and her father, uncle and cousin, all UQ medicine alumni. The Hirschfeld legacy continues in the medical school today through the Marx Hirschfeld Museum, located in the main medical building, where exhibitions of historical medical equipment and tools are regularly on display. The early 60s saw the establishment of the UQ Medical Society, or UQMS. Queensland hosted the first student convention in May 1960, starting a tradition of academic and social programs that were unrivalled across Australia. UQ's Med Balls became renowned. The Med Ball was held at Brisbane City Hall before moving to Cloudland for the first time in 1977. They were famous for being generally riotous, with some unforgettable traditions being established.
So currently our role is, as it always has been, looking after the academic, the social and the community well-being of our students at the University of Queensland. And we sort of have a lot of different activities that we run in each of those spheres. So in academic we do a lot of work with the School of Medicine, particularly around the new MD that's just coming in. And a lot of advocacy for students around the program development, and making sure that they have the best results academically. Socially, we obviously run a lot of social events to help our peers network, and to meet other doctors and other students, and have a good time while they're doing it.
Many relationships and marriages were formed during the med school years, so continuing to grow the UQ Medicine family tree and ensuring that the calling to study medicine and help the needy and sick was passed on through generations.
In 1969 I met my wife Trish as a medical student. In 1975 Amy, our daughter, went into medicine after doing some science and working as a drug rep for a couple of years, and then decided to do medicine. And there she met her husband Dan, who is a Canadian who came over to Queensland to do his medical training in Queensland.
So in first year we met at the Sports Day event.
I think I pushed him into the garden, in fact.
Yeah, I wanted to get there first, probably.
Yeah. And then he chased me for a while.
We also studied in the PBL rooms. There was a group of about 10 or 15 of us that studied there on a daily and nightly basis, and Amy was one of them, I was the other one, and I guess it all went from there.
Yeah.
My father was a general practitioner in Bundaberg for a long time in solo practice. I've got two currently in medical school, or about to start medical school. My older brother has a daughter in physician training, and my older sister has two medical students / graduates in England. and it's a fairly large medical family.
First day of med school, first person I met, now my husband. And so we were in a group and some of his friends were the groomsmen.
If they weren't drinking or snogging, UQ Med students were often pranking.
Well, all of medicine isn't all hard work, of course, and it's enormous fun on many occasions. There are many apocryphal stories and many true stories in the 80-year history of our faculty. Many students remember when Professor Doherty, who was the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, had his car lifted by a hired crane onto the top of the medical school, and his shock and horror when he came back, having been invited back on a subterfuge, and saw his car on the roof of the medical school.
More than mere larrikins, UQ medical students wanted their voices heard when decisions were made about the school. One of the most controversial issues of the day centred on the teaching of obstetrics and gynecology, and specifically lectures about contraception.
Being a graduate of 1981 was a great time to be at the university. So we started in 1976, and it was that time, I think it was either 1976 or 77, we had the big university marches, the right to march, and it was a fun time to be on campus. There was a lot of activity there. We also had a great class.
And it's the teaching today, delivered by more than 3,000 academic title holders, that makes the UQ medical degree the successful program that it is. In close partnership with our hospital and health services throughout Brisbane, Queensland and in New Orleans, both private and public, we're training the doctors of tomorrow. And the significance and calibre of the expertise that our clinical teaching staff bring to the program is fundamental to this success.
What makes our school is the teachers. I mean, if it wasn't for the teachers, we wouldn't, the dedicated teachers who sort of power information and teach the students are with such passion. I think, that's what makes a clinical school. I tell my students, think of your medical training as like scaffolding in a building. And then what happens is you're creating this building over your entire life through all your experiences as experiences, from practical experience as well as your teachers.
Mentoring is an incredibly important part of medicine, and a lot of how we learn is from senior clinicians who have been through what we've been through before and can hand down their knowledge and their experience. And I think it's incredibly important to recognise that that's a big part of the curriculum.
I was inspired by so many of the amazing teachers and clinicians who taught us. Sitting under the tutelage of some of these people who are world leaders in their field and national leaders in medicine, and seeing their brain and hearing how that brain ticks is very inspirational. It makes you think, that's the kind of doctor that I want to be like. And I was very fortunate at UQ that one of the best things I think that the UQ's program did was to introduce me to some of the brightest minds in medicine.
It all comes back to great teachers and great experiences that you had, and I guess I had this one incredible lecturer who was just able to convey his passion for the subject. He's a paediatric radiologist. He's now near retired, based in Townsville. Anthony Lamont's his name. And he was just so excellent at both teaching but making you feel excited about what you were learning about.
UQ medical publications also found their home over this period, and the Trefine Medical Student Yearbook, launched in the 1950s, is still produced today. Medical student publications, pranks, radicalism and socio-political lobbying all had their heyday during this colourful era, and the notion of medical students and staff being more than just doctors continues today through activities, philosophies and influence on societal values.